Double trouble, I got double trouble, I got double trouble. Twice as much as anybody else, oh yeah.
Revisiting, talking about Craig's collection, Scotty, you've shown some snippets and video of Craig's home and his collection, his big glass case with all his FTD stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, no, that's all changed now. I managed to get a really lovely cabinet for silly money. Someone was practically giving it away. It's taller than me, and I'm 6'3". So I've managed to get all of my FTDs in there and the box sets. So yeah, my room has changed quite a bit, and I'm really pretty happy with it. I'm just now doing the pictures, as it were, and getting the right sort of pictures. So my room is very different from Scott's, where he's movie heavy. Mine is more promotional stills, unusual pictures. I mean, I don't know if you saw our Mario Lanza Christmas video where Scott got me the picture of Elvis with the gold Cadillac. I've always loved that picture. There's something about that picture I loved. He got it all really cleaned up, so it's super sharp now. So I like unusual pictures. I mean, for instance, I've got I'm not the biggest fan of Memphis Mafia by any way, shape or form, but the Christmas of 70, where they're in Graceland and all holding up the deputy sheriff's badges. Yeah, and I've got, they're all the main players really of the Elvis story, but pictures like that interest me. Unusual little snapshots within his life, because he's quite an unusual picture for all those grown men to be holding up a badge. And he's kitted up with all the guns and the belts, and he's sat in the middle like the king. And it's a fantastic picture, but things like that really grab my attention, and I like those sorts of pictures. So they're the sort that I will collect from.
You've got all the FTDs, all right, Craig?
Yes, yeah.
Have you got the CDs as well?
I only collect CDs. I don't collect vinyl.
Right. Have you got a lot of other CDs apart from the FTDs?
The odd one or two, but when as I said to you, I'm not really a collector. I like to have all the FTDs because I think that series is important. The books are my main passion. I mean, I don't have all the books. I'm gradually starting to collect the books, but they're silly money now. Absolutely. And then they only do one run of them. They don't reprint them, which is a real shame. I would like to see FTD do that. I know it takes away from the collector, the exclusivity of it, but it would be really nice if some of that stuff could be redone, because there's some of the books that I go on eBay and I can't believe the price of them. So I'm a few books down. But yeah, all the CDs, the box sets I have, but I'm looking for a really nice blue Hawaii. That's one I didn't manage to get because I wasn't able to at the time.
That's the making of Blue Hawaii.
Yeah, sorry, the making of Blue Hawaii.
Oh, right, with the book, yeah.
But I picked up a sealed Boy from Tupelo from Chris at the Elvis shop a good few years ago, and that's mint. And I was always after it. And I know RCA did the Legacy edition or whatever it was, but
and that one's gone up to a silly price.
Yeah, I mean that's £500-600 now. In fact, I think the most expensive one is Viva Las Vegas. It's kind of like the Colonel Still Lives to a degree.
Well, it's funny because Scotty, if he's showing something from FTD, at the end of the video, he'll always say, well, yeah, you better grab it. Is this essential? Should I get this? Yes, because it's going to double in less than a year. And it does.
That philosophy's never changed, has it, with Elvis? No. It's all been that way. And that's just something I've never agreed with, but it is what it is. And I tell you what it does, it makes it very difficult for the new fan to get in at any level. It's very difficult. Obviously, they can collect the music. Yeah. You've got all these downstream sites and what have you, Spotify, whatever. But to physically own it, which I think we're of that generation that we do, there's nothing better than having something physically in your hands and something to look at as well. Because a lot of this stuff, it's just bloody nice to look at, isn't it? It's lovely stuff.
You can get tons of stuff these days, though, cheap. Elvis stuff, records.
Yeah, you can. It's funny enough. I originally collected vinyl. Then, what year would that have been when you had my collection? Do you remember? Probably a decade ago, was it?
No,
Probably
not as long as that. I've only been collecting about 7 years vinyl, I think.
So as a kid, I always collected Elvis vinyl from a very young age. And when I moved house several times, they went up in my loft, and that's where they stayed for a good long while. And then obviously the CD era came in, and everyone went to CD and everything else. And then Scott knocked on my door one day, and he said, "You know your Elvis vinyl?" He said, "You still want it?" And I said, "No, not really." So I gave him the whole lot. There wasn't a huge amount, but there was some nice records in there.
Right.
And they in the loft, and I gave them to him. And that's what gave Scotty his start. And
I remember you talking about that, Scott, on one of your videos. You were into the Beatles, and you said that Craig's always been What was it? What was that moment that made you think, I want to go and get that?
I'm glad you mentioned that, David, because the memory is imprinted in my mind. I shall tell it for you now. When we had a family holiday to Portugal, or no, Spain, and on Craig's Walkman, he had Something Blue, the song Something Blue. And I always remember him saying to my mum and dad at the time, listen to this man's voice, listen to the vocal on this track. It's a great vocal, as we all know. And I kind of listened to it as well, and I really liked it, but I didn't really want to admit that I liked it. And I remember coming back from that holiday, and I think I bought Michael Jackson's Thriller at the time. So what year was Thriller? Was it 85, 86?
82 or 83.
Yeah, early 80s, wasn't it?
Maybe that year. And I bought that album. Then I got into Queen, probably one of the greatest live rock bands, the world's ever seen. Got into them. Then I got into the Beatles. So I kind of did my schooling on music, but I was always drawn back to that man's voice. And then it just snowballed from there, really. And I had a massive CD collection that I sold to really get the vinyl. I wish I'd never done that now, because I didn't need to. I wish I'd kept CDs as well, because there are some great CD releases that obviously I know FTD have caught up in that respect, but there were some niche products that I really liked. I loved the covers on them, and they had a good track selection to listen to.
But that love of Elvis did come from our parents. So
right, yeah, I remember you saying in your video,
Mum and Dad
had
Elvis.
And I always remember my sister was dating a young man at the time, and he brought down all of his Elvis records in, the old ladies' shopping trolleys they used to wheel along with the handle. But he bought it down in those, and I remember going through them. And the one that struck me that was the Elvis gold vinyl of Elvis Gold Records Volume 2 and Volume 3. The Canadian presses. Vinyl. So I chose that. I said, "Oh, can I record that?" So I recorded it. And also remember, what was it? Was it Telstar where they did Elvis love songs?
Oh, that like a drawn cover, isn't it? Where he's looking up.
That's it. And that is a great selection of songs. And I had that on set, and then I kept playing it. And then I got into the Inspiration tape, the beige tape. Do you remember? Yeah.
K-Tel.
With him on the front. Had that. Then had Blue Hawaii. Yes, it was Blue Hawaii, Camden.
But my dad's who bought the majority of his records from Woolworths when Woolworths were still.
Good old Woolworths.
Yeah, and we had this old record player, but my dad loved his music. He was very eclectic. A majority of the stuff I listen to now, which I would never envisage listen to when I was a kid, but I would like as an adult, comes from my dad, really. He loved everyone and everything. His record collection was something else, wasn't it? And the Elvis records that they had, a lot of them were Camden, because it would have been a period of Camden. And obviously Woolworths would have stocked a lot of those. There was always one particular song, Let's Forget About the Stars, that always used to stop on the needle, just used to repeat and repeat and repeat. And I can't listen to that song now without expecting it to stop.
But I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So that's a firm memory for me. And as a kid, I was always into Elvis. And I can remember, even at school, looking at some encyclopedias within the library. And I would always go to the Elvis bit. And I went to a shopping centre once, Hempstead Valley, which is not too far from where we are, probably half an hour away. And he used to have an old-fashioned music shop where they'd sell organs, guitars, that sort of thing. Do you remember that?
The music sheets.
And he had a music book by Ray Connolly. Now, Ray Connolly interviewed Elvis in, it would have been 69 or 70 in Vegas. And I always remember vividly him describing his narrow eyes and his chiseled cheekbones. And
he was combing his sideburns.
Yeah, and before he was allowed to interview him, he was getting himself to look great before he walked in. Ray Connolly walked in to interview him. Within that book, there was a picture of Elvis in Tupelo, where he's in the dungarees. Not the one where he's 2 years old, but where he's standing out. I think it's Guy Harris's house. And I was always drawn to that picture. And I don't know why, but Elvis as a boy fascinated me more than Elvis as the man, probably because I was of a similar age. Mm-hmm. But those things are indelible in my mind about this. And I've never not been an Elvis fan, ever. And as I've got older, when we went to Memphis in 2012, is it an obsession? Probably. It got even deeper. And I don't think it ever could.
I think when we came back from there,
kickstarted
it kickstarted it all again, even though we were fans. But when I came back from there, that's when the collection started, and that's when the room kind of, well, it's grown pace over the last few years, but I think that's where the seeds were sown. And like you guys know, once you're in deep, you can't get out.
I just realized I'm the minority. I'm the only one here without a cool British accent.
Well, I don't know about that. Cool. I prefer your American one, if I'm honest.
Oh man, you and I, Scotty. I think even Adam and I have talked about this. No, if I had the choice between mine and yours, it's hands down yours.
I'll tell you what. When we went to Memphis, they love an Englishman out there. Cool. I could have ended up marrying about 10 women out there. They love it.
That's exactly. And I'm very happy.
If you came here, it'd be different. You'd have the same problem. Well, I don't know. You might do.
I don't know. It just has character. I don't know what it is. Character. It's so classy. I love it.
My mum went to America in just before I was born, so it would have been about 65. She had an American pen pal. And I think it was in Massachusetts, somewhere in Massachusetts. But she got her picture and an article about her in the local paper because she was English.
How wonderful.
Mark, you will know this, and I'm going to direct this at you because you're the only chap from the States. But Elvis is really revered over here, Europe, Australia. And in America, I always think he's not so. Like the Beatles are more revered than Elvis. Is it, there must be truth to that, because I've often read that.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a hard question to answer, because what I am seeing is an influx of a lot of young fans, which is nice to see. You're seeing a lot of YouTube channels starting up of young guys, and I see on Facebook I belong to several pages, and you are seeing an infusion of a lot of young people getting to know his music. And even my daughter, I told her that if I do go this spring, when she's on break, if I take her, I said, you may not be an Elvis fan, but I think you'll leave an Elvis fan, just experiencing Graceland and like you said, going into that house and going into what is before you, all the gold records and the jumpsuits, and it's the only word I can think of, it's like awe-inspiring. Like you leave there almost a different person. I mean, that might sound silly to some, but that's how I felt when I went back in 2001. It took me from this level way up here. You come away something. It's almost like a spiritual type thing. I can't even put it into words, but here in the States, there's a lot of Beatles fans. That is true, but I don't know if there's one that's more revered than the other, to kind of go back to your question. So what I have learned is just how big he is in the UK and other parts of Europe.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, is that Elvis Evolution is opening up in the UK. I mean, they tour the great exhibits in the UK. I mean, there's a massive fan base in the UK, and it's always been that way, purely because we can never have him. You know, there is always a fascination with an Englishman and Americana, and things that come from America. It's fascinating. The movie industry, there's so much. It's like magic to an Englishman. It really is. You probably don't get it, but it is. It's special.
Well, it's funny to hear you say that, because coming from this side, I feel the exact way. Like, I've never visited there. I would give my left toe to go there and just take in the sights and the food and the sounds and everything. Like I said, and I've always thought our accents are quite boring, and I listen, I feel like I'm talking to Bond, because James Bond is big here in the States.
Funny you should mention it.
Can I shine your shoes, Governor?
But it's funny. You always want something you don't have. So on your side, you look here and you're like, America offers so much. But me as an American, I look at all four of you. I think, man, I would love to visit. I would give just about anything to get on a plane and go there and and see the sights and everything that it has to offer.
I was just going to say, for us, America is obviously everything is a little bit, well, quite a lot bigger and brighter and more extravagant, and you have sunshine, which is
everywhere.
That helps the country quite a lot, I think.
It's pretty cold in Delaware, isn't it?
But the bottom line is, you had Elvis, and that's the biggest difference.
True.
Yeah. I think a big part of going to Memphis, actually, my sister bought it for us as a 40th birthday present, which was an unbelievable, generous thing to do. And we were both in tears when she gave it to us. We went out for a family. Yeah. It was an unbelievable moment. But there's a lot of people that state it's not really that important to go to Graceland or Memphis if you're an Elvis fan. But to me, I think it really is. I think you get I mean, that place is special in its own right. It's so far removed from the highway, and it's like you're encapsulated in some sort of serene part, or a serene place. And I've always equated it to the amount of love that's been focused on that area, and with the gravesite and the meditation garden. There's so much love poured into that area that has such a special feel to it. Now, it would have been different in Elvis's day, of course, but I think it gives you a greater understanding of where the story's played out, and you can visualize it more. Because until you go there, I visualize Graceland on the other side of the highway. So it's strange little things like that, and it really, for me, builds a description that's really important. And we're going back, aren't we? We were supposed to go back a year or two before, but finances or whatever. But my mum's paid for us to go back, which is really absolutely been gifted. We are so incredibly lucky.
When are you going?
Go together. Sorry?
When are you going? I was just going to ask you if you had plans on going back.
We're probably going to leave it when we're
going in April, Mark, funny enough.
Are you really?
It's probably going to be on the 50th, or the 50th year of his passing, but it won't be in August, because we plan to do quite a bit in Tupelo as well. Unfortunately, I have friends over there that can show us around, because obviously being Englishmen, I mean, you can only read so much, but you really need people that can guide you by the hand and take you to particular places. And we were really lucky that when we did go to Memphis, we met Mike Freeman. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he passed a few years ago of cancer. He used to do Elvis tours, and he owned the Alderman House. And he was a fond knowledge. I have his book at home, actually, on Memphis, but he was a great guy to take us around. Really nice guy as well. So
what year did you go?
2012.
2012.
Yeah, so that's what.
So we saw it as it
was.
All the gold discs in the racquetball court, which was really special. It's the special thing that they've changed it. I know they had to change it, but
we had a moment, didn't we, when we walked in there? Because have all you guys been? You must have been, all of you.
I went in 2001. It's the one and only time I've been.
David, you've been? You're just shaking your head that you hadn't.
No, I haven't been. No, okay. I'd love to go, yeah, but I haven't been yet.
Well, when we first walked into that racquetball court, they used to play American Trilogy on the screen. I think there's a few screens dotted around, and then they have their Aloha suit, which was on your left as you walked in. And when you visualize the suit with the man on the screen, it stops you in your tracks. And you know, you get the hairs on the back of your neck go up, and we were actually physically brought tears, didn't it? It was such a strong feeling. And I generally feel, I mean, we believe this anyway, that he was there. I swear to God, he was there, because the power was something
I think
else.
you can feel, you know, whether you choose to believe this or not, you can, when you go into that house, you can feel the presence, or what you assume is the presence of the man. It must have a very similar feel to when he lived there, because it just feels really different to anything else in Memphis. And it was a beautiful experience. It really was. And whether it would be the same going back the second time, probably not, because whenever you do something for the first time, you have such high expectations. And I've heard people often say that, oh, Graceland is smaller than what I imagined. Didn't matter to me. It felt a big place to me. It felt magical. And it was the one place that I'd always dreamed of going. And the fact that we got there, I shall ever be eternally grateful, because for whatever reason, if we don't go back, and there is a paid trip there, but I feel a little bit guilty saying to my mum, oh, are you ready to pay for that trip? If we don't never go back, I don't know if it'll ever beat the first time. But we didn't do Tupelo. So if we do Tupelo the second time, which is something we really want to do, then I think that'd be equally as special.
But we would do the versus times, so it'd be Tupelo first, and then take the path that he took, because I think that's a special.
How are you going to get around? Are you going to rent a car or just?
Yeah, I would think so. If we can be trusted to drive on the wrong side of the road.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Mark's already spoken about.
I can't be trusted in this country, let alone.
I know she said
you for a couple of weeks, Mark.
Yeah.
I know she said wrong side of the road and not right side of the road. The wrong side.
Absolutely, because you drive the same way we do, don't you?
Yeah. On the correct side of the road.
Correct way.
Yeah. You mentioned too, Craig, about or maybe it was Scotty, about in the racquetball room where you had the Aloha screen and then you had the suit. You went in 2012. It was like that in 2001 when I went. So I guess it remained unchanged for several years.
It was kind of more. It was intimate then, wasn't it? I think it was more within Elvis's how he would have envisaged it, of people visiting his home. I think now where you see all the stuff over the road and the big complex, I think it's kind of taken away some of the intimacy of it all. And
I've heard a few people say that.
When my mum went back, she said it was a little bit cold. There wasn't that same feel that was in the racquetball and everything else. I don't know whether you've heard the people say that. It feels very, I don't know, very commercial now. Very commercial.
I guess it's just grown over the years, hasn't it? I went in 91 and I went back in 92.
Wow.
So I saw it quite early on in its evolution from the home to the attraction, if you know what I mean. And I remember the big bronze statue was at the top of Beale Street at the time, before they moved it. And I've actually got pictures of me. I climbed it and I'm stood there with him. I'd probably get locked up nowadays for doing that, but obviously didn't damage him.
Do you know
what's crazy is they just announced last month that they're expanding the jumper suit room, that they've acquired some
Right.
I don't know, they didn't go into detail. It just said that they're expanding it. So I don't know if somebody's letting, it's in a private collection, they're letting Graceland borrow the suits. But I thought that was interesting.
Well, this year Graceland is going back to red. I don't know whether any of you have read that. But
Is it?
Yep, it's going. I think it's for a period of time, but they're taking it back to when it was when Elvis passed, which I think is really interesting. Certainly, if you've been the traditional '60s setup, but obviously we know it wasn't like that when he passed. So I would love to go and see it with the red. That'd be quite interesting.
I've got to go back. It's been so long, but I think it's interesting what you were saying when you went. I find it just sort of opened my eyes to music generally. I think Memphis was just such a magical place. I mean, when I went in '91, I was purely a rock and roll fan, Elvis fan, and everything. But I came away from Memphis after spending some nights out in the town and going to the music bars. and it just made me a massive historian fan of the music, the blues, the gospel. You know, and I've had to create collections in 2 more rooms now for all my what I call roots music. You know,
don't you feel though that being an Elvis fan educates you on music? Because all roads lead from him and to him. It's incredible how much you pick up, and especially his eclectic taste as well. It's just fascinating how so many artists are interlinked. I've always found that fascinating. That through Elvis, I've grown a much bigger appreciation of other artists, and I've always been thankful for that. Because without him, I don't think they would have probably crossed my radar.
Yeah, and after going to Memphis, it's just I wanted to hear everything he heard, you know, and go back to the beginning of the recording of the first recordings of the blues, you know, in the field.
Did you do Sun?
Yeah, did Son, and there was, you know, in the days then, like you've got Stax museum now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, Stax was just the front of a building with pillars holding up the front. There was no back end to it, you know. It was really underdeveloped, Beale Street at the time. But then you had the class bars like BB King's Bar, Rum Boogie Bar. I loved all them. I'd just spend every night in them.
When we went. Mike Freeman, I was talking about earlier. He took us to American Sounds or Chips Moman's studio, and he said, "Whatever you do, don't break down here, don't get out." And it was a rough area then.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was in his time, but it's strange when you see these places and where they are. You always automatically think that it's more glamorous or somehow more magical, but it wasn't. It's strange. So there's many things that illuminate your eyes at that place.
Kid, really. I'm walking around Memphis, and I got a massive big SLR camera on my side, and I think I nearly got mugged about 3 times. Wow. And started realizing I best keep to the tourist areas.
Thing is, you don't want to though, do you? You want to explore different avenues, and I think next time you might have to go in a bit more incognito, Adam.
Yeah.
One of the locals. Baggy pants, trainers.
Yeah, I mean, them days, I mean, you walked everywhere, didn't you? I mean, I think we went to Beale Street and then walked some records, and, you know, I guess we put our lives in a hand at the time.
We did Beale, didn't we? But we made the mistake of doing it during the day because we weren't there for long. We was on 3 or 4 days stop, so we had to cram a lot in. And I wish I'd gone back there at night because my friends say it's a totally different place. No, it's alive at night, but in the day.
Yeah. Taking advantage of this British accent.
Yeah. Well, the second time I went, I think I went out on Beale for a week every night. And it was just amazing. I just loved it, you know, and it opened my eyes to the sort of blues and soul music.
Did you go with your wife?
Yes. It was actually part of our honeymoon the second time I went. So we had a week in Florida and then we had a week in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And we stayed in the old hotel across the road from Graceland's. So,
Heartbreak Hotel?
Oh, yeah, that's where we stayed.
Yeah.
Good job, didn't it? I like that place.
Yeah. They tore it down and built new stuff there. I was pretty surprised when I read that.
Yeah, it was a Holiday Inn, wasn't it? Originally, I'm sure it was many moons ago.
I think when we went, it might have been called the Kings or something.
That was it.
But what I loved about that was we had this room, and it was like a little ensuite and a little living room in it. And just every morning, just look out the window, and we were just directly above Elisa Marie and the hound dog. And so that was the morning view. I loved it.
The manageress of the hotel, she took a liking to me and Scott. She was a lovely lady.
Can't think why.
No, and I can't remember her name either. Can you remember her name?
No.
But she arranged that tour for us. She said, "Look, I've got 2 chaps here and their mum, because our mum came with us. he said they're not your normal fans. She said they're quite knowledgeable and they'd really like a tour. And he dropped what he was doing and came and gave us a tour. So we got lucky in some respects. We never booked it, but we found them so accommodating. The southern people, you know, they are. I mean, it's part of their job, obviously, when they work in that complex. But they were so nice to us, and as you say, Mark, they appreciated the British accent, and they were really friendly people. And it's right what they say about southern hospitality. It's special.
For me, I loved the type of person he was. I heard the story at a very young age of the woman admiring the Cadillac and Elvis just buying it for her. I love to hear those stories. I love to hear how his career started, how he cut the single for his mom and all that. But like Scotty just mentioned, like it makes you wonder: do you even like him as an artist, as a person? But for me, it goes deeper than that. I love his music. I love his voice. Love his acting, and I loved who he was as a human being.
You're a fan. You are 100% fan, and that's the difference. If people want to differentiate between the Elvis of 75, 76, 77 to the young man of 55, 56, 57, they're different men because they've gone through a transitional period where he's travelled a road that was very difficult. No one had travelled that type of road before. No one, not to have the type of stardom that he had. World global. I mean, you could argue that Sinatra had a little bit of it, but he didn't look like Elvis did. No way. He didn't have the talent, in my view, that Elvis had. And that's there was no blueprint for that type of character. There is now. You can learn from the mistakes that he made. But God, we're only human, aren't we? So let's have a bit more respect for.
And do you know what? For every fantastic story that there is, imagine how many are out there that we don't know. There's got to be hundreds.
Well, he achieved so much. It's astonishing to think. And you say, well, he was in the spotlight for 21, 22 years. But it's astonishing to see what an impact he had on the 20th century just in those years.
Oh, he lived a full life without any shadow of a doubt. He lived many lives. I mean, he lived within that fame of 21 years, or 56 his breakout year. But if you class it 21 years, half of his life wasn't really famous or gradually building up to that fame because it wasn't overnight, as we know. And then the final 21 years, and then bang, it's finished.
Yeah, I always think you just look at 1956 itself.
Crazy.
What he achieved in that year, most people won't achieve in a career.
No.
It was pretty quick, though. I mean, he
broke everything.
Was played, as you all know, it created a lot of buzz in Memphis. So he kind of did make it overnight in a way, at least around the Memphis area.
Well, I'm
building up towards.
I mean, he was singing as early as 52, and he was around Beale Street for a lot longer or a lot earlier than people think. There's lots of accounts of him being on Beale Street way before many think he only went down there to Lansky to shop, but he wasn't. He was going in black clubs. And I've been doing a lot of work on this, and he was promoted heavily by the black community because it was really strange to see a white chap on Beale Street, guitar slung over his back, making their race music, obviously, as we know it was called. But do we say that the Colonel was instrumental in breaking that, which he was, wasn't he? He brought him to TV. He brought him to the movie screen. He got him his big contract at RCA. So that's when it really exploded. But you're right, David. There was a climb up to that point. And locally, he was very well known. But global, it really was 56 and with the Colonel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a friend in the States. His name's Jay. And he went to the Triggs Baptist Church that just burnt down, the one where Brewster preached from and where Elvis sang and went into the congregation. And obviously burnt to the ground. And he got me a couple of bits of like masonry, brick, wood, etc. And he said, I'll send you over some. like a paperweight or something to go on my desk. And obviously, it didn't cost him anything to pick it up, but to post it, we're looking over £100, English pounds, to get it here. And you just think, what the hell has gone on with air freight or postage? It's incredible.
It's a good job. I know someone over there who's quite handy. That's I think his name's Mark. That he's more than willing to cover the freight.
In Delaware,
From Delaware.
It's a Bronco.
Yeah.
Where is Delaware?
It's on the East Coast of the United States, right below Pennsylvania.
Adam, when are we actually starting today then? Or have we started?
We do talk, as you can imagine. We do talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
But
nice.
the thing is,
like
He
my
does.
defense.
I can't believe how much he's talking.
I know, sure, channel, when
he's centre stage. He's robbed me.
as I said earlier, before I think David and Mark were here, is that I said he's RCA and I'm Camden. That's how it is. You know, I'm the budget.
Now you're coming through as an FTD era, Craig.
yeah,
Very good.
Or a box set.
Yeah.
I find it so enjoyable when everyone gets together and they're just relaxed and starts chatting. I always feel lucky when I get together with David and Mark and other channels, because it's just,
You don't even need to, do you? You just.
we're all passionate and we just get on straight away. We didn't know each other. We just,
I know.
you know,
I get it. That's why it's like an instant rapport with you guys, and it's so nice, because when you're growing up, it is difficult to find other like-minded folk who have the same appreciation, isn't it? I can't think many of us have got friendly with people that are the same. Have you? It hasn't happened in my lifetime.
I didn't know any Elvis.
no. And so many of the stories that you were telling resonate with me, you know, sort of growing up. You know, I first heard Elvis in '74 as a kid, and my fascination was with the record player in the house, you know, the big old cabinets, sideboards. And I was about 4 years old, and my dad was into jazz and stuff, which I didn't really take to. So I didn't know I was going to be into music. And I must have asked, can I have a go? Can I play with it? And my mum had all these original Elvis 78s and 50s EPs and singles. So King Creole, Love Me Tender, Hound Dog. So I started off with the cream of his music, sort of thing. But also there was a lot of Beatles singles in there, and 60s groups and Neil Diamond. And so that was my early stage, but it was Elvis that I was, you know, you listen to Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel, they just blow you away, don't they? They're just such great records. But I've always been a Beatles fan as well.
I've never got Beatles.
Not to the same degree, but I would say I've probably got the majority of their releases.
What's funny is as a kid, it was two. And the person I'm about to mention didn't have the lasting impact that Elvis did, but my mom also introduced me to Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yeah.
Enge, who still claims that he wore sideburns before Elvis, which is a crazy claim, but he's still going. Still peddling that, isn't he? But yeah, he's always very respectful of Elvis, isn't he? There's that great picture of them two, isn't there, where they could be, I don't know, Enge or Engelbert says they're brothers, but I know
They do look a bit like brothers in that picture.
Yeah, they look quite stunning, the pair. But yeah, it's a great picture.
And he had a great voice too.
Yeah,
nothing like Elvis, but he had a powerful voice.
I actually follow him on YouTube because of the stories that he shares about Elvis. His voice is nowhere near what it was. But he can still sing, and he's still doing it. I mean, he's got to be mid-80s. I know.
He's about 85 or 86. Yeah. He's actually going to be appearing in. He's actually going to be appearing not too far from here in New Jersey, I think, in February. But yeah, he still tours and.
Has he got his own YouTube channel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Does he show his records when he brings out a new release?
No, he kind of does. He does like memories. So if there's a particular day that he filmed something where he recorded Women Without Love or something like that, or
Man Without Love.
I'd have the Last Waltz with You.
Yeah.
That's the one I really remember.
Yeah.
What's
Just-
that, Scotty? Which year?
I don't know what year it was. I'll have to Last Waltz with You. Not that I would with you, Mark, but yeah, it's
Release Me, which was obviously Everly Brothers, wasn't it? They recorded.
Yeah, Last Waltz, Release Me, Man Without Love. Yeah.
It's funny because Elvis's Release Me is so different from Engelbert's. It's so Elvis, isn't it? That Elvis,
Yeah.
whatever he put into it, is so different.
It's like I Can't Stop Loving You. My granddad had about a dozen 70 singles, and one of them was I Can't Stop Loving You by Ray Charles, which he got a lot of stick for using white female backing singers. But yeah, the difference between his version and Elvis is just night and day.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, funnily enough, me and Scott were having a conversation last night where I've been sending him lots of clips from Southern gospel groups, predominantly the Statesmen, the Imperials, the Blackwood Brothers, and it ties in with this big piece that I'm writing. And I've sent him some fantastic tracks of Jake Hess, who, as we know, was the lead singer with the Statesmen, who had an unbelievable voice. Gary McSpadden was baritone. Armand Morales was bass, and we had Henry Slaughter on piano, and obviously Cheryl Nielsen, who was with the group right at the very start. And there's only one clip on YouTube of them singing a song, which was the original Imperials, and it's fantastic. And it's Scott, thinking I'd impress him a bit. He texts me back, he goes, there's singers and there's singers. And he said, you know, as great as these guys are, and they were, because they were the top in their field, he said they just haven't got what Elvis had. And in truth, they haven't.
it was a great quote, wasn't it, Craig?
Yeah.
And if it'd been prepared, he would have had it read for you, but he wasn't. But
No.
basically, it's funny. I can listen to these groups and I love them, but there's just something missing. He had that ultimate feel to convey a song, and it was shot full of feeling. And I always use that. And where they seem to have a certain particular style that they would sing in. And don't get me wrong, their voices were impeccable, but he could stretch his voice over any genre, whether it was rock, whether he was singing a ballad, whether he was singing gospel, whether he was even trying to do a little bit of operatic, as we saw in Surrender, It's Now or Never, and stuff like that. And that's why, to me, he is the greatest vocalist that we've ever seen, because Sinatra couldn't do what he did. Harry Belafonte couldn't do what he did. You know, to me, that's the benchmark that I always that they always need to rise to. Can you do this? Can you do that? But do it the very best. And he was the greatest rock singer ever, in my opinion.
And he always rose to the occasion. It didn't matter what it was, what recording session it was.
And that's the important thing. Give him an occasion to rise to. And unfortunately, there was a lack of that in the later years, and that's ultimately, what led to his demise.
Yeah, and I think Elvis was just one of those who totally soaked up the whole song, the whole music, and he just spat it out with his own soul. And
that's a very good point, Adam, because I was thinking this. If you listen to any given song, so whether it's Return to Sender. Okay, you can listen to him and you can think he's in a jovial mood. I know the song's jovial, but you can hear it. Whereas if you go to 76, February 76, you go to the Jungle Rooms and you listen to a particular song. Now, even I know he wasn't particularly morose in February 76. There was some good humour in those sessions, but you can listen to one particular song, for example, and you can think, he weren't feeling great then. He wasn't really feeling it so whenever you listen to an Elvis song, you kind of know where his mood's at.
Or where he is
in his
life.
Yeah.
Goralnik always said he was a heart singer. So there's a lot of singers that are technically brilliant. You know, and sing from the head and the mind. But to me, his greatest work comes straight from the heart and the soul, as you said, Adam. And that, to me, differentiates him from the rest.
That's why I really like a lot of the songs that he was really familiar with, that he'd known all his life. The songs that he could just sit at the piano or just pick the guitar up
Oh,
and just
absolutely.
play them, you know.
Yeah. Or if you, and particularly the ones if you listen to that he was singing in Germany before he come home, and he was doing a lot of this his hand in mine, wasn't he? Or her hand in his, or whatever it was. He was changing the lyrics, and he was already prepared for those songs he knew. So whether they sent him songs that they knew he was going to record it when he came out, but it's not too far away from him. I think that's why he nailed them really quickly.
I've got a question for all of you. So do you remember when Rick Rubin recorded Johnny Cash, and he was doing songs of his youth, old gospel numbers, songs that he remembered as a child? And often it was just an accompaniment of an acoustic guitar. And, well, obviously different instruments, but predominantly it was his voice and the guitar. I always wanted that for Elvis. I always wanted to hear Elvis in later life sing songs of his childhood or songs that meant something to him purely acoustically, just him and his voice. I think that would have been magical. Is there anything that you would have liked to have listened or Elvis create that he never did while he was here? So was there missed opportunities vocally, musically, that you would love to have heard or seen if he had lived?
What would have liked him to do while he was alive? I'd have loved him to create that sort of folky album that he started round about that 71, 72 period. I think if someone in the studio said, let's focus on creating a full album of that, like they did the country album in 1970, I'd have loved to have seen that. And I'd have probably loved to have seen him do a full-on blues album as well.
Yeah.
I'd maybe taking him to another studio with different musicians and just give him a...
That would have inspired him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just like he did with 69 Memphis with Chips Moman.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, there's probably a lot he could have done past 77 with the way music was changing, but I think just concentrating on the two periods.
Do you
he could have done.
Tony Prince interview, Tony Prince, the DJ, where he says to Elvis, it'd be really great if you was recording a blues album, and he said, I'm doing one as we speak. But we never spoke, did we?
When was that?
That would have been when Tony Prince was over there, so it would have been late 70s. I can put a link up, but it's a really interesting interview. You don't obviously see Elvis, but you can hear him. And Tony Prince puts that question to him: when are you going to record that blues album that we were all waiting for? And he said, I'm doing it, but it never materialised.
Yeah.
But I'll post up a link for that so you can listen to it at some point. Mark, any thoughts? You look like you're deep in thought.
I guess, yeah, I guess blues would be one that I would have liked to have heard, or, but for me, I just think he did touch on so much in his brief, in the time that he was here. He did a little bit of everything. I think I would have liked to see him touch more on rock infused stuff later in his life. Because you have songs like, Burning Love, Way Down for me was always a favorite from those sessions. But he just offered us so much. And, like I said, when I mentioned I may have blinders on when I say this, it's just, I can't really think off the top of my head anything that he missed or didn't touch on at some point. And maybe that's a naive statement, but and the love for his music, but I just think he hit on so many different notes throughout his career.
David, did you get the gist of the question?
Yeah, I think I've got the gist of it. Yeah, so for me, I think I would have liked to have seen him do some jazz vocal standards, particularly certain women, female singers who I like. I know he did The 12th of Never, but there's a really good version by Nina Simone. I would have liked to have seen him do that in the studio. Also a Billie Holiday album, Lady in Satin. There's a song on there called "If I'm a Fool to Want You," things like that. I would have liked to have seen him do things like that.
Really interesting. Yeah, it's a great answers. They're all different, aren't they? I mean, yeah, you're right, Mark. He did give us the gamut. Really, he gave us everything he had. But I was saying to the chaps when it froze, David, that what Rick Rubin did with Johnny Cash, I would have loved to have seen Elvis do that type of thing with the voice, because it was always maturing and actually growing bigger as he was reaching the latter part of his years. And
right.
I don't know, when guys get older, their voices tend to, they kind of tell the role or tell the way they've lived their lives. You know, they tell their own story, don't they? The tone and the.
So J.D. Sumner said, didn't he? He said that he didn't particularly care for Elvis's voice in the 50s. He said there was too much vibrato in it. Whereas when he got to the Elvis of the 70s, when he was singing My Way, The Wonder of You, whatever you want to call it, it was a much more bigger voice, and he was kind of growing into that voice. Whereas I'm the opposite. I prefer the early voice to the latter voice. Though I see merits in both, I just prefer that vibrancy and that lightness, and that the pitch was just perfect.
To me, it seems like he was using his vibrato more as he got older. It seemed to come in a lot from about Hear 'em Scare 'em time, and as he got into the 70s, it was very, very dominant. Don't really notice vibrato so much on his early records, but yeah, I know what you mean.
That was J.D. Sumner for you, mate. I'll find him up and he was wrong. I've got a link to heaven.
Yeah. Ask him to do it again.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a lot of vibrato in Sumner's voice, was there?
I must admit, I'm with you. I love the earthiness and the rawness in his 50s and 60s, you know, and that's why listening to the sessions is so good for me, and that they are the best releases. You get to hear him live in the studio, and you get to hear the quality of his vocals, and the Girl Happy sessions just proved that, didn't it? You know,
I think that is my, and I think all of us are going to be on the same page just from what I'm hearing and reading from so many people. These sound so good. I was sitting in my Lazy Boy with my headphones on, listening to it when it first came out, and they just punch you right in the face. They're so clean. It's like it was recorded yesterday, and all the sessions sound good. But I believe that and The Devil in Disguise. I think those two are my favorite.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Where, you know, you've got that famous quote by Lennon where he says Elvis died when he went in the army. But when you listen to late 60s, early 61, where he's singing I Want You With Me, Coming Home, and songs like that, it was a more sophisticated rock of the time, if you like. It was certainly different to anything he would have recorded in the 50s. And I think his singing on it is absolutely unbelievable. I was listening to some outtakes of that yesterday, and I just thought, do we do him a disservice for his ability to sing rock in the early 60s? Because I thought it was exceptional.
I mean, he could have done it if he wanted to. I mean, you know, I think John Lennon's always been a bit outspoken with his comments, hasn't he? So, you know, he didn't die when he went in the army, did he? He just grew up. He changed. He grew up.
You couldn't remain a rock singer for the rest of your life, could you?
What it means is I don't. What it means is I don't like his music after 1960.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
I mean,
but John was always extreme with his comments, wasn't he? You know, and it got him into trouble.
He didn't get him as an artist, did he? Because when Elvis first went into Sun, he only wanted to do ballads. And
yeah,
if he could have sung anything and sang it for the rest of his life, it would have been gospel. He said that to Jake Hess in the How Great Are Art sessions, where he was just standing there looking off to nothing, and Jake went over to speak to him, and he turned to Jake and he said, "Do you know what?" He said, "I wish I could sing gospel for the rest of my life." And Jake said to him, "Well, why don't you?" And he looked over, he pointed to all the guys sitting over the other side of the room, all the musicians, and he said, "I'd put them out of work." And he said, "I can't. There's too many people that are reliant on me." And that's a common theme throughout his story when you listen to it, about the touring, about the Vegas, always juggling balls. And he wasn't a one-man industry, wasn't he? And I think that's that's crazy. When you got like the crown jewels and you're getting them out every night and polishing them, it just didn't feel right. He just like, well, it isn't right, is it? He shouldn't have been doing 2 shows a night in Vegas. He shouldn't have been doing that, you know.
And I think that's part of life, isn't it? I mean, you know, you buy a new car, you buy a house, you have to finance these things, and you're caught up. Then you have to carry on working, don't you? You have to carry on doing not what you love, but what brings in the money. And I think he's maybe caught in that trap a little bit, like you say, quite a lot.
73 was a seminal year, wasn't it? It was the divorce, which he had to pay for. He sold his music back catalogue back to RCA pre-73. And that's, to me, is the beginning of the end. I mean, we've done Somebody Hear My Voice, which is about 73. We've only done a few parts, but we're going to go back to it, aren't we, and do it all in one go. But 73 is an incredibly interesting year. I mean, it starts off on a massive high with Aloha.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to Vegas, and he's kind of, the decline is starting to show. He's bored of Vegas. He goes to Stax is it June or July, and it's awful. Goes back to Stax in December, and it's great. Meets Linda in between, and he's on a high again. And it's such a roller coaster year. But to me, it's the beginning of what the story would be towards the end. It's a really, because 72, he's done everything, isn't he? He's done Madison Square Garden. He's done Elvis on tour. He's got hit albums. He's at the top. He's at the pinnacle. And then 73, he's still hanging on, and then it just gradually goes away. And it's I don't know. Even now, when I read it or I look back at stuff, I still think it's bloody sad that happened. It is. It's like a black fairy tale, isn't it? It's one of the saddest stories ever told.
It's always
it's hard to think where he could have gone after that. So it's hard to think where he could have gone. I mean, you know, he, like you say, he'd pretty much done everything in music. You know, he really had to be all downhill in a way from there.
Yeah. He could have done with some time. He should have got some time off away from it, because he was just non-stop workhorse, wasn't he? You know,
when you look at his tour schedule, you know, when you look at the dates, he never took a night off. And you might say, well, he only did a 12 city tour or a 15 city tour, but he was doing 2 shows a day. And then it was night after night. Bands now take 2 and 3 nights off between each show. Elvis never did that. And it was through that, like that, his whole career. And I think it
would go not obviously he went from one city to another city, but it would go from one state to another state in the space of a day, you know. I mean, it's a big country, right?
Yeah. He should have came to us, shouldn't he? That should have been the next phase of his career, 70.
That might have given him a challenge to rise to, and it might have kept him alive a little bit longer. Did you expect, in terms of like the 90th this year, did you expect a little bit to be out by now, or do you know any plans that they've got for this year? There's not been a lot really said, is there?
No. We got hit with so much, didn't we, in December, January from FTD, Sony.
5 releases.
I would just like them to do something special for this year, like one major release that, I don't know what they could do, but you really think, that's good. I like that. But what it will be, I don't know, because what was it? 85, where you had the 50th year of obviously him being at RCA and so on. You kind of had all the albums were kind of re-released, weren't they? And you got those little stickers on the front, which were great. And
they're talking about, well, it'd been 75 to 25, so they're talking about what, Elvis Today. I don't know what they could do with that. I can't. What other major releases were there in 75?
Today's Sessions.
Yeah. But I can't think there's going to be much else, unless they're saving it for the 50th of his passing, because that's a big one, isn't it?
Were there any big concerts in 75? Not really, I don't think.
No, I think it's only Elvis Today, isn't it?
Yeah. Like you say, Scotty, there's just been no announcement at all, has there, for the 90th? In fact, I mean, we're in February already, and there's been no announcement of any releases, really, has there? Official releases.
If you think about it in terms of what was released at Christmas, I mean, as we know, the California Holiday album was delayed by God knows how many months. And then you had, obviously, the Girl Happy Sessions came out probably earlier than what we thought it would. The Making of Creole, we knew was probably going to be a Christmas release. So it was an extraordinary time to have all those releases. And, you know, sometimes not necessarily thinking of the fans' pockets, is it, that want all these things. But why they can't stagger them in a more in a better order, so you can get your finances in order to get them all, I just never understand that, because not every fan's pockets are deep, are they? That's the thing.
No, it's probably just bad planning.
Yeah.
I think if you look back through the history of FTD, they used to release something every couple of months, didn't they?
Well, I think at its height, you had 4 albums released in 1 year. We've never seen that before, have we? Or are we likely to see it again?
LPs, you mean?
Yeah, LPs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
1 year. I don't know what year it was.
I was gonna say they kept that up the first few years. Scott, I remember you doing the video on that.
Yeah.
That they were doing 4, and then they do 3 or 4, and they were consistent. In the last probably 3 or 4 years, we're lucky we get 2.
So really, if you think about it, we had California Holiday, which was really the only release, because we had the reissues, didn't we, of Moody Blue, which I was really disappointed with. I'll be honest. I thought it was lazy.
I was too.
Yeah.
But California Holiday, they brought it back in line, because I thought that was a fabulous release. Great cover, sounds good. But I don't know. But perhaps there's just been trouble in getting hold of vinyl. I don't know. I just don't know.
2012, there was 5 vinyl LPs.
5. Well,
Yeah.
14.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we'll never see that again, I doubt. And there is the opportunity to do that for vinyl, because the CDs are far more ahead, aren't they, in terms of what's been released?
Oh, yeah.
So what hasn't been released on vinyl, it's crazy. And for me, they apart from the sessions, I always look forward to an FTD album. That's my highlight of the Elvis release this year. And it's a real shame.
Just because they're so well done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'd personally like to see a Paradise Hawaiian style, or I think Ed from King's Court had mentioned this a few years ago. An FTD release of An Afternoon in the Garden, like just give it its own, gatefold and double album. Man, that would be awesome.
And do it properly. Do the cover from the actual concert
Show.
How that was put together. But they could do a really good release of that. You're right, a proper one.
maybe because we've seen legacy releases, we might not get it for a while, I suppose.
There's been FTD.
Quite a few of them, haven't there?
Yeah.
David, interesting. Sorry, you were just saying that, when you reviewed your Girl Happy sessions.
Yeah.
Put that link between the Bo Diddley. Very interesting. I never got that, but well done. Yeah, I thought that was a good analogy.
There's another one as well, actually. I thought of a 4th song, which is actually The Meanest Girl in Town, because at the end, he does that same thing.
Yeah, I know.
Is it at the end of 2 songs, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's very astute. But I think sometimes you have to. I was conscious that I wanted to get it out sooner rather than later before everyone else does it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to sit back and digest it and think about it more. And there's often times where I watch something back and think, oh, I should have added that or whatever. But we live and learn.
All right. Well, it's time for me to go to bed, I think, and it's time for Matt to go to breakfast. So we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks ever so much to our hallowed guests, Scott and Craig. And we'll see you all in the next one, when we'll have hopefully another guest.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.